Now we're going to talk about the difference between race and ethnicity. You might have heard the term ethnicity or even be familiar with it. Anthropologists really prefer the term ethnicity to race because race is so complicated and has this link to a biological idea that doesn't exist. So when we think about ethnicity, what is it, right? How can we, break down the components of ethnicity? Ethnicity actually has a lot to do with culture, right? But it also has to do with heritage. So usually when we talk about an ethnic group, we talk about people who have a common history, right? Where do their ancestors come from? Or where do our ancestors come from? What kinds of cultural patterns do they share? So for instance, do they call noodles noodles or do they call them pasta? Language, do they share the same or a similar language? Often an ethnic group will speak a similar language, or they will have a similar language in their past and have diverged from it, or maybe speak multiple languages, but one is shared. And so all of these things really lead to a shared identity for people who share an ethnic group. In these pictures here on the right have a Black family, and then a couple of Aboriginal women from Australia, and at the bottom, a grandfather, Asian American grandfather, and his two grandchildren. So we would say that no matter the DNA of children, whether they are adopted from another country, I'm adopted, right? No matter what the DNA is, you share the ethnicity of the people who raise you, right? And that ethnicity is sort of the basis for your identity. So like race, ethnicity is not biological or genetic, but ethnicity can also be, it can be a source of pride, right? And we see that a lot when people have celebrations or parades, right? Like the Puerto Rican parade in New York City, for instance, St. Patrick's Day parade in which people celebrate their Irish ancestry. Or just the wonderful feeling of community that you get when you're with people who share your background, your understandings, and your culture. But also ethnicity is often imposed by others. That's something that we might call racialization. So sometimes when we think about other people, we sort of assume they belong to an ethnic group, and we racialize them. We create a race in our minds that has certain characteristics, certain attributes, and that the members of which also have those attributes. Right? So we have to really think about counteracting this in our own thought and in the ways that we behave or think about others, because people, even though they may be of a certain ethnicity or have a certain heritage, people are unique and individual. So we should always be careful about assuming certain things about people and racializing groups.